What do you disagree with seemingly most of Reddit about? I disagree with rigid takes. A lot of folks view things very cut and dry and refuse to consider a more balanced perspective. I don't enjoy talking politics in an echo chamber, and strawmen make me want to play devil's advocate. That you shouldn't leave a spouse just because of one argument. X200B. That it's okay for others to choose differently than you. I believe you have to handle yourself and your situation in the current real world while also working towards improving the total situation. AKA I know X problem is real. But you shouldn't ruin your life being stubborn about it. Play by the shit rules, and play your shit hand the best you can while also trying to fix the game. Apparently, every post on Ida. For some reason, I think everyone who has a public meltdown is an asshole. That one comment or one opinion defines someone as a person. This is an issue with the internet in general, but people will take one comment completely out of context of the person who said it and use it as a way to demonize them. Nobody is one-dimensional, everyone has things that they believe in and ways they are willing to speak on things. I don't care if the video is scripted if I'm just trying to watch funny videos. I personally don't think it detracts from the entertainment value. Woman shrugging, that you sometimes have to do things you don't like if you want to keep people in your life. I'm talking minor inconveniences like visiting your friend or family with kids or picking people up at the airport. A lot of the relationships advice, most people jump straight to break up divorce over things that just need a conversation in both parties to improve their communication skills. Man shrugging. If people make a harmless dumb skit meant to be funny and post it on social media, I'm just glad they're having fun. The fact that it's staged or maybe not funny or part of some silly trend doesn't indicate the downfall of human intelligence and civilization. Not every problem in a relationship requires a breakup. Starting to think there's more virgins on Reddit than I previously thought. Apparently with most opinions on this thread, the amount of straw manning and blowing stuff out of proportion here is insane. That weed is harmless. While it's less harmful than alcohol and other drugs, it still has its problems. Bacon is too expensive for what it brings to the table and you're not cool always referencing it. Our politics, while I do lean left, is not fair and balanced. It's ruled by groupthink controlling what's upvoted or not. Harry Potter sucks. Dogs, cats. That there are other words to describe large things besides massive and massively. Seriously, if you want to bite or mind hope yourself, start paying attention to how often those two words are used. It's as if synonyms like huge, giant, enormous, etc. suddenly disappeared a few years ago. Landlords are mostly good people who own 1-2 properties and aren't rich at all. They don't take your rent and bite caviar. If you don't pay your rent, you should be evicted, and rightfully so. The anti-religion stuff gets old. But the worst is how Redditors get incredibly maudlin about pretty routine acts of kindness, but anyone who does anything wrong get bashed using incredibly dehumanizing language. But then when it turns out the Oranyala story was wrong, suddenly everyone is very much against rushing to judgment. Questions do not require brutal honesty, and cruelty is dismissed entirely too often on this fashion. Just because it's the truth doesn't mean you're not an asshole. Believe all is fucking stupid because people lie regardless of what's between their legs and or what color their skin is. Due process is not something you want to give up, people. Reddit isn't better than any other social media. It can be just as detrimental, misinformed, dangerous, and cancerous as TikTok and Facebook. That decent intelligent people can have radically different political views, and those differences present no barriers to friendships either. Arguing with strangers online is not a waste of time. It gives me practice for arguing with idiots in real life. Modern music is not that bad. The top 40 has been mostly good music, but PPL seem to find the 1 or 2 shitty songs that's all they know. A disagreement with your spouse, not seeing eye to eye, or having a big argument does not warrant an immediate divorce. Most of Reddit seems to believe that if you disagree with a person of color about anything, it must be because you're racist. I like children most of the time. I have hope for the future of the planet. Human lives are worth more than animal lives. That religion is evil. Reddit seems to have a weird hate boner for religion, especially Christianity, which I think is odd because I thought Reddit was mostly Americans from what I gleaned from the references in political talk, and I thought most Americans were Christians. Most I've met were. I don't think Netflix is the devil. If the service and its terms don't agree with you anymore, just unsubscribe. It seems like a silly thing to get so emotional about. 18 and 19-year-old women are capable of making their own decisions. Reddit so often seems to think they're still children and capable of independent thought. Minors, teenagers should not be taking hormones or getting body parts removed added because they feel uncomfortable with their gender. I disagree with the voting system and our unpopular opinion. Personally, I upvote the opinions I agree with, and downvote the ones I disagree with. I will gladly die on this hill. We don't live in the WRST Team EVAR. There have always been wars and crises. Much worse than now in fact. Reddit, or maybe it's Americans, are obsessed with hydration. Relax, normal day routine will get you enough fluids. If you're worried, drink some water now and then. But no, your piss doesn't have to be crystal clear. And yes, coffee dehydrates you a bit, but you don't have to counteract it with the same amount of water. Everyone, everywhere survive without obsessing about it, so chill. It's pee. Stop pretending it's not. If you're into water sports, you do you, just stop trying to convince everyone else you aren't. If you can't comment on a post in a sub without it being negative, rude, unhelpful, or nefarious, you don't need to post to that sub or even be a part of Reddit. Not everyone shares the same mindset as you, so if you see people posting shit that you don't agree with, just turn your nose and find one of the 4 million other subreddits to play around on. Boomers didn't ruin everything for you. Also, their lives weren't exceptionally easy. Stop parroting shit you've heard just because you wish it were true. Downvotes are not for comments you disagree with. Comments that are flat out wrong or are off topic, sure, downvote. But someone saying their favorite Nicolas Cage movie is National Treasure 2 shouldn't get a downvote because you personally don't like it as much as the first one. Biological sex is highly correlated with gender expression and sexual identity. Them not being exactly the same thing doesn't mean that they are very much so tied together for the vast majority of people. Cutting people out of your life for pretty basic things is an extreme take. You can choose to not hang out with people often without just going no contact. Hardcore suppression of reasonable speech. Reddit is an echo chamber of like-minded ideas who writhe at the idea that pervasive non-group thinking creep in. That golf is terrible and only played by rich old white dudes. Edit to be clear, the statement above is what I hear from Redditors all the time. I disagree with it. You don't always need to break up with your so because they served you grape jelly instead of strawberry, or some other super minor thing. 1. Everyone is racist. 2. Everything is racist. 3. Nuance does not exist. 4. Empathy does not exist. 4b. People delight in the tragedy of the other side. 5. Mods are sometimes wrong, but never willing to admit it. 6. Accuracy is irrelevant. Liking porn. Most of Reddit seems to like it. I detest the stuff and view the vast bulk of it as incredibly misogynistic. Also, I am on board with properly age-gating it and raking more than just somebody saying that they're over 18 to be able to see it. You should have to provide actual proof if you want to see that sort of NSFW content. I don't think trans rights should get as much airtime as it does. It affects such a tiny minority of the population, yet it's debated everywhere. The world has far, far bigger problems to deal with than how an individual lives their life. Basically everything about weed. It's extremely destructive to your mind and body, extremely addictive, and continues to kill thousands of people each year through, according to Boston University, the 21.5 of fatal car accidents caused by high drivers. Pirates of the Caribbean is a terrible, terrible movie. David Bowie wasn't that great. The Star Wars prequels were utter garbage from start to finish. I think that's enough. Downvotes. I always see polite, respectful, on-topic conversations in an otherwise popular thread get downvoted for apparently no reason whatsoever. And it's often focused on the op. Redditors and boomers have more in common with each other than boomers and most generations before. The gist: boomers are the first generation to be raised with television, a medium no one was prepared for. No one knew how to use. No one knew the consequences. But man, do they sell that the body mass index is a useless system and should be dismissed. This is true in fringe cases where one has a lot of muscle mass, but in 95 cases, this isn't the case and BMI is perfectly useful. Most dismiss it because they don't like the results, and because it's flawed to a small few, it's flawed to them too. America is not an awful third world country, CEO evil. Capitalism is a good economic system. 40-hour work week is not that bad. Not everyone should drive a Toyota Corolla or Honda Civic. I like Drake. There's only one correct side to politics, and if there is the smallest difference in opinion, you're banned and shilled. Typing leak HEH just to mock something is stupid and overdone, and a prime example of Reddit being the worst platform on the internet for not letting things die. Most people can small talk a bit or interact perfectly normal in social interactions. Staying home alone is shit compared to going out and even just talking to strangers.